All right. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Erin Mihal, and I serve as the Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement here at Emory University. Before we get started, I'd like to share a few housekeeping announcements. The views and opinions expressed in the Learning and Development webinars are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the official policies, positions, or views of Emory University, the Emory Alumni Association, or their affiliates. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an endorsement. To minimize disruptions, we ask that you please keep your microphones muted. However, we do love seeing your faces, so please keep your camera on and fully engage with the conversation and share questions through the chat box. Also, please stay tuned for a minute after the session for a few announcements. And at this time, my favorite part of the session, passing it on to our alumni career coach, Hallie Crawford, to get us started.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. And I love seeing everyone's faces and some of the Emory swag in the background as well. So I'm calling in from Atlanta, about 5, 10 minutes away from Emory. So not in the village there, but just a little bit east, no, a west and a little bit north. And we're going to talk today about transferable skills. I'm proud to have been partnered with Emory for a really long time. We'll have to count the years at some point. And I'll do just a very quick intro to me in just a second, but we're going to be focusing today, as a quick reminder, on 10 transferable skills that can help you change careers. There may be others that you come up with as you work through your career transition and your job search, etc. But the 10 we're going to cover today are some of the ones that employers and recruiters tend to look for. And I don't want to say basic ones because that makes them sound bad, but some of the foundational transferable skills that are going to be important when you're thinking about making any kind of shift, whether it's a large one or a small one. So if you haven't been on a webinar with us before, I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author based in Atlanta. I've been coaching and training since 2002, and this picture isn't quite that old, but I am getting more gray hair, so I'm going to have to update it sooner than later. And I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And we have a fantastic team of certified career coaches that provide our one-on-one coaching services. I host programs, webinars, speaking engagements, and our boot camps as well. And we love what we do. So I'm very excited to be here with you all today to help think about what the next step is for you and how to transition into it. And just really quickly too, and then we'll go to this next slide. Like this specific topic is like our niche and what we help people with all day, every day. What do I want to be doing next professionally? How does that look? What's the right fit for me? And how do I go make that happen, including the job search as well? So the advice I'm going to give you is advice, obviously, that we give to all of our clients. And as a quick reminder, we are going to share the recording with you after this. So take a or keep an eye on your email. And you can also revisit the slides as well, because we're going to provide a link to those too. So we would love it if you can be present and hear, ask questions, make comments. So keep that chat box open because you can revisit everything later as you're thinking about next steps. And you're like, oh, wait, okay, I did this one thing. What's the next thing for you? Um, and I would pick an action step, obviously, that makes sense for you based on where you are in your journey of identifying and understanding what your transferable skills are. And we're going to find out a little bit more where people are at too, because we will have a few polls today as well. So before we get to our agenda slide, please know first, we totally get that career change, large or small, even when it's a subtle shift, it can be overwhelming. It's a lot for people, and it's totally normal and understandable to feel that way. We joke with our clients that it's almost like if you didn't feel that way, we would be more worried, right? So some people will tell us, understandably, I don't know where to start. And we hear from so many people, Like I started to try to figure this out and it's been years and it was just overwhelming. So I would just put it on the back burner again and go back to work. Some of the other things that people will tell us is they're afraid or feel fearful of the transition. Like, how long is it going to take? Will it work at the end of the day? And understandably, and all of these are why we're here today. But if you look at the third one on the bottom right hand side, being unsure how to represent yourself effectively for another industry is an understandable concern. And just so you know, we're not sitting over here saying, oh, you can go be an astronaut tomorrow. Like, you do have to be realistic about the career ideas and the jobs that you are considering. And there are going to be certain things that just may be too tough for you to get into. But we don't want people, A, to settle for less and just stay put just because of that, because there are so many jobs out there that we didn't even know exist, or you don't even know exist, that could be really, really close to that ideal or adjacent to it. And the second thing is that we find is that people are able to find a position that fits them so much better in so many cases than where they have been or where they are, that it is definitely worth making the shift and putting the time into it. We all know that resumes are scanned quickly. So this is also something that can be very stressful for people because they're like, well, if I'm not sitting here saying I've got 10 years or whatever experience in this one area and I'm trying to make a shift, like they're not even going to look at me. So we are going to talk about those things today and how to frame out your resume in the best way possible. And please know, some people are going to ignore you. That's just part of the process. Like that's part of job searching, regardless of the situation that you're in. So, what we try to teach our clients is that job searching is like sales. That if you're going to get like a 10 or 20% response or return rate, the more people you talk with, connect with, places you reach out to, etc., the better off you're going to be. Okay. So, the good news, as we said a moment ago, is you can make a change in a shift. You do need to say to yourself, this is going to take some time. And you have to be realistic about the types of jobs that you are going for. Like, I'm not going to become an astronaut tomorrow. Luckily, I don't want to, but that would just, it's not going to happen for me. And we're also not saying, and I just want to kind of touch on this nugget real quick and then we'll keep going, that we're also not saying that any job or a different job is going to be perfect for you every single second of the day, right? There are always things that we may not enjoy quite as much about our work as other things. What we're going for with our clients and what we find is that when they're choosing where they're compromising, if they do have to compromise a little bit, they feel so much better. And also, what we're going for is the good parts about what you do so far outweigh those things that you may not like quite as much. You can totally deal with them. That's how it is and what we are going for with all of our clients. So, we're going to actually make sure that you're staying alert and awake with transferable skills and launch our first poll here. And while we're doing this poll, I'm just going to check on one thing here and make sure. So we'll give you a moment to, excuse me, complete this. And I apologize, I've got a little bit of like allergies going on, but I want to just make sure that my agenda slide didn't get like hidden for some reason. So this is perfect timing to kind of check that out. All right. So we're looking for, and it's okay, by the way, if you're like, gosh, all of these apply to me, or so many of them do. So just please know that. Okay, I do need to fix one thing. So I'm going to stop sharing for just 1 second and I'm going to open up because I accidentally, this is totally my fault. I hid my agenda slide and I did not mean to do that. And part of why, the other thing that I wanted to say about this too, is part of why we like to do these polls is because we want you to know that these are normal, you're not alone. And we also want people to like identify what their obstacles are up front because then they can start to understand, oh, okay, these are the things that I need to be watching out for and addressing. What are your most common obstacles? Okay, so when you're ready, we will do the results, and I am fixing my slides here. Apologize for that. I was messing around with them before and I went a little too crazy, I think. Okay, so let me reshare. Okay, good. Results. Thank you. Know my skills, but unsure which ones matter most. Yes, this makes perfect sense. This is a really common, understandable obstacle for a lot of people. Let me just say a couple of things about it, and I'm going to reshare my slides while we're talking. So, number one of the ways, understandably, is to like look kind of across the different jobs and job openings that you're looking at, and understand or get a sense of what those like themes are, if you will. Okay. And that will help you get a clear sense of which ones are most important. We're also going to talk about those today. That's big part of why we're here. So we're going to show you some of the most important ones. This is another way, though, too, that you can, or one of the ways that you can leverage AI to get you to get some support and help about what some of those things might be as well. So we're going to cover each of those elements of this poll as we go. But do me a huge favor, make sure that you've got the chat box open because if we look at our agenda for today, and let me know if for any reason you can't see my slides, we're going to discuss how to identify your skills right out of the box, how to understand whether these 10 transferable skills are going to be relevant to your situation and how so. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. At the end, we're going to talk about resume formatting and how to lay things out a little bit so that you're promoting yourself or selling yourself in the right way. And there's a link here to get the slides. Let me know if you have any issues with the link. We can always send that out later. I'm going to put the link into the chat box as well. So see if that works. So you can get the slides both of those ways, either way. But if you have questions as we progress today, please don't feel like you have to hold them till the end. Go ahead and pop them in. I'm happy to answer questions as we go, as well as at the end too. And thanks for the kudos in the chat box as well. Okay, so we did our poll. So one of the first things that we want you to do to be effective with your transition is make sure that you're as clear as possible on your direction. So, what are the types of jobs that I want to target? And then, as part of that, like what are the right transferable skills that are going to be relevant for these types of positions? So, we're not going to spend a ton of time on our ideal career model today. This is a model I developed a long time ago when I first started coaching. And this is what we use to help our clients identify if they are targeting the right types of career paths and jobs. Bottom line, you can print this out and you want the jobs that you're applying to, you want them to check all of these boxes. Ideally, we want to go for something that's going to be fulfilling and rewarding to us in some way, shape, or form. All the way to we need that compensation to be in place. So while you're considering your different options, do me a favor and make sure that you're headed in the on the right track, but also spend about like 5 or 10 minutes researching what else is out there that you may not know about job wise that could actually be a really good fit for you using the keywords of the types of jobs that you're looking at. Okay. Now, to start to identify some of your skills and what you bring to the table, transferable and otherwise, you can use the model as well, certain pieces of it. What are your top 5 strengths? Strengths Finder assessment, or there's a lot of great free assessments online that you can use to identify transfer or what your strengths are. But I guess what I want to say about this one is the majority of the time, your top strengths can be transferable. It's just about saying, like, at the end of the day, this is really project management, or at the end of the day, this is really like managing data. It doesn't matter that it's managing data for this specific like industry, et cetera. Try to go to the 10,000-foot view of what your strengths are because that's going to help you identify how they're transferable. Your past education could be transferable, your past experience. And then don't forget, and this is the last one we'll mention on this slide, is don't forget the personality type and those soft skills, those other things you bring to the table. I'm a great communicator. I'm a great leader. I'm able to manage change and conflict effectively. Those are things employers, they can't teach you. It's much harder to do so. They can teach you Salesforce or new software, whatever it is. But these are things actually that when it's between you and a couple of other candidates and you've got more of these soft skills, they're going to go with you. Now, some of these soft skills and leadership skills that are important these days, you can use this wheel to assess where you fit and where you fall. So, this is top 10 leadership skills. It's from Development Dimensions International. And we really like it when people do a self evaluation and rate themselves in each area. Now, what I want to say is remember, not every area is going to be relevant to the jobs that you might be applying to. So, for example, if you are not going to be managing other people, some of these strengths may not be as relevant. So, always use that lens of, what's going to be relevant to what I'm going for based on job description, based on AI, etc. The second thing we want you to do with this wheel is have other people rate you on each of these areas because we tend to discount what comes naturally to us. We just think, oh, everyone's good at that, right? And it's like, yeah, no, no, not necessarily. And also not good at it in the ways that you are. So ask other people as well to rate you on this wheel because give you, it can help support some of your current ideas, but also give you new ideas too. Another way to understand what your transferable skills are is to, starting today, keep an accomplishments document for the rest of your career. If you already have one, fantastic. But we want you to have this document because you want to, in addition to your resume, when you're going on an interview, when you're ready for your job search, etc., you want to have this other information, testimonials, kudos, statistics, and results that you may forget over time. And if you start to work on this and even look at your past performance reviews, for example, identify what do these things tell you about your transferable skills. So this is another way by maintaining and keeping an accomplishments document. It can help you with your search, it can help you with a promotion, but it can help you with these transferable skills as well. Remember, what we're looking for is themes. We also love it to help you identify what those skills are. And what's important is interview other people. So, couple of things. You can ask friends, family, former coworkers these questions. What comes to mind when you think of me? What skills might I be able to use elsewhere? This interviewing other people, and thanks for the comment in the chat. That's absolutely right and fantastic. Interviewing people who are Emory alum, for example, this is a great way to leverage your alumni network. And finding out from them, like these are some of the keywords I think are important and kind of some of the themes, et cetera, and skills and strengths. Is this or has this been your experience so far? So do this two ways. People that know you that can help you understand your brand and your transferable skills, and people that are in the places that you would like to be to get that clear sense of what's really going to be valuable and important. One of the ways to clearly identify the relevant skills, strengths, etc., is to understand where you are on this model of 6 stages of career development. If you look at the bottom, this is from the CEO of Korn Ferry, highly regarded recruiting firms, a huge recruiting firm, headhunters. And based on where you are in your career, which stage you're in, these are the types of transferable skills that you need to be focusing on to sell yourself. So use this also to understand what's going to be relevant and important based on where you are in terms of your career development and progression. Now, I will say with this, sometimes people are kind of in between two of them, right? Or they might be on the way to the next one, whatever it is. So, just like anything else, use these assessments and tools to give you ideas, and then you parse through, okay, what makes sense for your situation. All right, so that was our first key for today is helping you understand and identify what those transferable skills are for you and your situation. So let's talk about the 10 that we would recommend you look at that we know are important. to the majority of employers out there, and thinking about with each of these as we go through them, thinking about how it's relevant to the jobs you're going for, but your situation. Because if you look at each of these, so for example, on these first two, management and technical, these are really broad, right? You can't just say management, like people won't know what you're talking about. So with each of these, what you want to be thinking about for yourself is like a funnel and saying, okay, let's talk about management first. Like, is my skill set and transferable skill in managing others, people, or no, managing things, projects, programs? Where does my management strength fall in within an organization? Is it operations? Is it finance, HR? Getting that clarity and putting those keywords in are going to be important. And then thinking about, okay, where could I use this in another industry and in a different way? And what would I need to learn and demonstrate that I know? So, for example, I know how to plan an event. It's understanding what the nuances are for these different types of events, for example. And you can start to speak about those types of things even in your LinkedIn and your cover letter, or data analysis, finance, whatever your background or your targets are. So the managing things obviously is a big deal, but you want to be specific about what it is exactly and what result do you achieve with each of these as well. So those are the two questions to ask yourself, the funneling down and what result happens as a result. Okay, I know that was redundant, but you get the gist. So the second one here is technical skills. Clearly, this is important. How to leverage AI within my industry. What does that mean? How is it changing things? How is it impacting things? Tons of articles out there about how AI is influencing, eliminating some jobs, but also reshaping a lot of positions and more so in that way. So, what kinds of technical skills do you need to demonstrate, whether it's software or certain apps or something else? Whether it's technical skills, being able to work with data, or is it engineering, or whatever it is, you need to articulate and spell out what those technical skills are. So, great question that came through. I'm going to go to the next slide so we can noodle on this one. The difference between operations management and program or project management is one is, how do I describe this? One is like a type, project and program management, like this is what I manage. And operations, for example, is within the department, right? So it's for operations purposes. So you can say both. Like, so I'm not trying to say just FYI, it has to be one or the other. I want you to say both. All of those questions would be kind of chipping away at the iceberg and getting clearer on its program or project management within operations. And as a result, I improve our processes, etc. Let me know if that makes sense. Yeah, good. You're welcome. So the more detail, the better off you're going to be. However, you don't want to go too so far with the detail that you're putting, for example, on your resume and LinkedIn, industry specific or company specific lingo that then paints the picture of you as where you are versus where you want to go. So you want to get as specific as you can without having, like painting the picture of I've worked at Salesforce or I've always worked at Amazon or, whatever it is. You want to have them see you in the new way. Great question. So keep them coming. Two more transferable skills on this next slide to be thinking about. Communication skills, huge. Everything in the workplace involves communication skills. But what you want to get clear about is for what purpose? Is it marketing? Is it writing and presenting? What type of communication is it? And for what purpose? Is it because I'm great at leading a team? Or no, it's I'm great at building relationships with my clients and customers. Or maybe it's both. But again, digging a little bit further, and there are some examples here. If the job, let's say, that you're going for is not going to have any change management in it or conflict, all of that, don't put skills or strengths in there that are not going to be relevant for the job. You want to make sure you're sticking with what they're looking for within the job description. My silly analogy for this is you want to imagine that the employer recruiter is a dog on a scent. And if the dog is looking for chicken and you put beef in there, they're going to go somewhere else, even if it's one little morsel of it, because they're going to be like, for example, oh, da 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 da. And then they're reading like event planning or whatever it is. Nothing wrong with that. But oh, we don't have any of that in my job. Okay, next resume, right? They've got a lot of resumes. So you really want to make sure it's tailored. You can add some of those other nice to have stories once you get the interview. This is getting you through the door. The second thing, or second, excuse me, transferable skill on this slide is critical thinking. Something, again, hard to teach. They want someone who can hit the ground running there. Is it problem solving? Is it efficiency? Is it strategic planning? Is it all of the above? So, where do you excel in using or leveraging your critical thinking skills and for what purpose? And this again is where we come back to, is it for HR purposes, operations, et cetera? So you can kind of slice the pie based on what type of work it is, what outcome comes out of it, but also what department it impacts and influences. Another one is multitasking, but we're not going to literally use the word multitasking because that one's kind of generic, right? So we're looking at things like, for example, if you're going to or looking to transfer or move into something that is going to be high pressure, deadlines, etc., your ability to work well under pressure, manage multiple things, accounts, people, at the same time or projects. For example, being really detail oriented, but able to be thinking at the same time, big picture and how those details fit into that big picture and strategic thinking as well. And in some cases, and I'm not sure if this one exactly fits here, I think actually I could put it in the communication one, but if you have technical expertise, but you're able to really communicate that well with non-technical team members or clients, those could be some examples of different ways that you would be multitasking. So you want to pull those out too. Now let's look at these next two, and then the final three are be on the next slide. So teamwork, obviously big one, especially now that people are in different places. Some people are remote, some people are in person, etc. So what type of teamwork is it? Is it an ability to lead teams, work within one effectively, but you tend to be good at, for example, keeping the team on task? Or no, you're good at keeping them motivated. Two different skill sets. Working remotely, you need to speak to that if those are the types of jobs you're looking for. And it could be team communication, efficiency, etc. So explaining what type of team member you are, an employee, at least a little bit on your resume as it relates to the jobs you're going for is going to be important. Creativity, whether it's creative thinking, whether it's literal creativity, like I'm a graphic designer, or if it's creative problem solving, this could also be strategic thinking and strategic planning. Those types of things would fall under here. And then our last three, and then we'll start to look at how to lay this out on my resume, etc. But these are going to be really important as well. We already talked about leadership, but what type of leadership? And what I want to say with this one is please think of leadership as not just if or only if you're managing other people. It's also about being a leader in your career, a leader within your organization, being the one to speak up when there's a problem, being the one to offer up advice or a solution to pitch in. So those are the types of things that you want to be thinking about here, as well as if you manage people. And you want to think about, okay, what are the leadership qualities that are going to be specific to this job? And this is where you want to adjust your keywords a little bit. Research and the ability to be analytical as well as creative, these are important as well. So, what type of research, for what purpose? What are you able to do with this? Remember, as we're thinking about creating results-oriented bullet points for our resume and LinkedIn, it's lovely when you have numbers, but if you don't, which a lot of people don't, you can put a percentage, you could put a range, you could put above or less than. If you can ethically explain it in an interview and know that this is about what it was, then it's okay to put it on your resume. We're not saying lie, but if you can come up with some numbers that you know in your heart are going to be true or accurate or a range, that's okay. But the other thing is also you can make and write your bullet points as results oriented even without the numbers. And if you look here, performed this in order to report on enabling, the C-suite or whatever it is to plan or strategically plan effectively as a result of that data. That's a result, and it was a little jumbled, I know, but off the cuff. That's a results oriented bullet point. So you're enabling, you're providing, you're supporting, allowing for, etc. Those are results oriented words that you can be using. And this is also where you can get a little bit of help with AI. Now we'll look at analytical skills again. For what purpose? And what are the results? These are the questions that you want to ask yourself. What do you do with your analysis? And what happens as a result when you provide it to your boss, etc.? What we're going for, and let's do our second poll here if we could, is what we're going for here is that you have like a master version of your resume that you can just swap things out based on the job that you are going for. So much so that you're tailoring it to each job for sure, but it only takes you about 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes to make those adjustments. So that's what we get our clients to the point of where they've got this master version with everything on it. And for job A that they're sending over their resume for, whatever it is, they're plugging and playing. So we'll give you a moment to complete this poll. Strong resume bullets, we started to talk about those, explaining them in interviews. When you're getting ready for the interview, just remember, get rid of that company or industry specific lingo. You want to start talking in more kind of layman's or generic terms. And then those measurable results, they can be numbers, but if you don't have those numbers, they can still be measurable language, if you will. Give you a minute to work on this one. And I understand too, if you're like, yeah, it's kind of all of them, just pick which one makes the most sense for you. All right, let's check out our results. Okay, so it's a little bit kind of neck and neck across the board to a certain extent. The strong resume bullets, please remember what we just talked about because that's going to help you enormously for this piece of it. Proving them with those measurable results. Like we said, numbers if you can, but it's okay to have greater than, less than, kind of like a range or percentages, and explaining them in interviews. So hopefully this starts to help you think about it. And we're going to show you some examples as we go today, with how to lay things out so that it structures it in the right way on your resume, but I also know that from doing this with our clients, it structures their thinking so that they're able to speak to this a little bit better when they're networking with their Emory fellow alum, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about resume next. And what I want to point out here is on this next slide, and then we'll keep going, is yes, it needs to sell you. We know that. Another thing we want to happen as a result of your resume being up to date is that it makes you feel more confident. So we want it to like help you walk out the door. You're feeling really confident. In the middle, though, underlined is branding you. And this is the one that people don't do as well. The most common mistake we see with our clients when they first come to us. So I really want to harp on this. I'll explain what I mean and show you a visual in just a moment, okay? But it's a big deal. So if you, nothing else, you pick that one out. That's good. So a couple of things. When we talk about formatting with resumes as it relates to transferable skills and selling yourself, remember that the formatting is really important for the scanning systems because a lot of organizations use those scanners and they'll boot you out or not. In some cases, based on keywords, yes, but also based on formatting. The places that you want to sell yourself with your transferable skills are in your summary, in your skills section, which we'll show you in a moment, it's going to be right underneath your summary statement. and then also in your experience section. So those are the places that you want to really focus on for these transferable skills. And we want you to create obviously a compelling summary. So a couple of things here though. Let's look at this one, this example. The branding, what I mean by that first is I know who this person is, I know where they are, how to find them on LinkedIn, etc. But I know what type of job title they're going for and what their background is a little bit by this marketing and communication strategist. But here's what's interesting about this, and this is why the branding is important, is if I read just that one, I might be like, oh, this guy works on marketing campaigns or, something like that for specific clients. But when you go further here and underneath, sure, a little bit of strategic marketing, but there's a little bit of BD in there. And then community outreach. So it's not exactly what I was making the assumption of. This is the branding up here. You're putting the job title for the job you're going for. You're having a tagline or keywords that further explain this is who you are. Okay, so when I land on your resume and LinkedIn, I want to know exactly who you are right out of the box. And great question that came through in the chat, the page limit debate, 2 pages. Unless you're a recent grad, that's what we do with our clients. It can be longer if you have had, like for me, my resume is going to be longer because I'm old. Is but go with the 2 pages. The 1 page is for most people, unless you are like just a few years out of college, it's not going to give you enough space to explain everything that you've been doing. So that's what, when our resume writer writes resumes for people, um, it's always 2 pages. And the how far back, which just came through too, it's another good one. So employers and recruiters, yes, 3 is okay if you've got more work experience. But we don't want a dangly third page half. So if you can smush it into 2 if that's happening, but otherwise, yeah, 3 is okay. And the how far back, they don't care as much about older experience that's 10 years or older than that. But most people don't want to have this gap dates wise because they're looking at dates. So what you can do is just with your older experience, put the job title, the dates, and that's it. So that's how you can deal with older experience. What I want to also share here with this slide, this is a way to make this functional within a chronological resume. So we prefer for our clients, we create for them either just a regular chronological if they're not looking to make a shift, but when they are, we like what is called a hybrid version, where it's still chronologically laid out, but it's functional within each of these sections. The reason why it's functional is because you've got these bullet points here: communication, director, trainer, mentor, marketing generalist. These are transferable skills. Okay. And then you've got the skills below this that are also can be transferable, excuse me, that will also help you get past the scanning systems. When you're creating a transferable skills resume, again, our recommendation is not to go the functional route. It's to do a hybrid version. These are the 2 we use with our clients. We do sell them online. If you download something from the internet, fine, but you want to be really careful that it doesn't have certain things in it. You don't want to have tables, you don't want to have columns, you don't want to have underlining because that can mess up the scanning systems. So, a couple of quick questions I'll answer. Sorry, there we go. Page limit. Yep, yep, yep. Struggle to get meaningful information into page. Yeah, so it's okay to go to 3 pages as long as you're really tailoring it to that job. So I just would be really careful about that. To specific jobs, a few different versions. Yes, it's okay to have a few different versions of your resume. Your LinkedIn profile, what you need to do, for lack of a better way to say it, is you're kind of genericizing a little bit more because to try to cross all of the different jobs that you're going for, because you can't create a new LinkedIn for each job, right? Tailor resume. Da, 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 da. Oh, sorry. What is the best way to present career progression within a single employer over a long period of time? Okay, let me noodle on that one a little bit more and we'll start to answer these. Let me do a couple more slides here. So and then I'll answer these. So with the branding, I kind of think we covered this, so I'm not going to belabor it, but we do like those taglines or something like that at the top. Remember, we want you to have those soft skills as well as technical skills. And with your brand, to be thinking about what am I known for? I'm the person that people come to when they need help with ABC, right? So that's your brand and what you want to make sure you focus on at the top of your resume. We talked about these guys on the left-hand side, those relevant, quantifiable when possible, but results oriented when not, and that master version of your resume. We'll do our third poll here, and this is our last one for today, if we could. And I will start to answer the career progression within a single over a long period of time. Just have the name of the company and then the different job titles with an explanation of what you accomplished underneath each of those job titles. So you've kind of got like a header and then all of those jobs underneath. And yeah, so recruiter told me to remove anything older than 10 to 12 years because of my, yeah, from resume and LinkedIn due to ageism. It depends on the jobs that you're applying to. Absolutely. If you're worried about this due to the types of positions that you're applying to, you can remove that. Um, and it's totally fine to do so. What I would just do then as well is you may want to take off those dates of college graduation then too, because that's going to age you as well. So just be mindful of the whole story. So, and thanks for sharing that. Yep. And the link doesn't work. Urgh. I know, sorry, sometimes my links are goofy. I'll get this to you. So let's fill out the poll. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was gonna and wanting to say related to, here's the right link. Um, put that in there. See if this link works. Um, with the ageism thing, like if across the board you're concerned about that for all of the jobs that you're applying to, go ahead and make those changes on LinkedIn. But in some cases, if the jobs that you want are actually, wanting that experience, et cetera. And I guess the only other thing I would say, because I know that ageism is out there and I totally get it, so I'm not saying ignore it. But we also want you to be looking for jobs in an ideal world where they do want your wisdom and your experience. And I only say this because there's one client, and as one just really good example, he, got a job. He was older and got a job at a place where everyone else was really, really young, and he left after a couple months because he was like, they're shooting Nerf guns across the office. Like, and that's just a metaphor for why this doesn't work for me. So I get the ageism. I'm not saying ignore, but just keep that in mind too. Okay, so how do we do on our poll? And I'm going to go to our next slide and we'll start to answer some more questions as well. But let's look at the poll. A little bit neck and neck here too. So highlighting those transferable skills. So on this slide are some examples of things that you can consider and use with those soft skills as well, like we talked about. The summary and the branding is going to be a big deal. That's really important. It's the first thing that they're going to read after your header. And the structure and formatting, like we said earlier, just be careful. You want to make sure it can get past those scanners. So at the bottom, remember any industry specific or company specific language. Like it was so interesting because one of our coaches was working with a client a couple weeks ago. We've had like 5 or 6 people get jobs in the past couple of months, which has been great. So there are jobs out there. You have to work harder to find them and get them, but they're there. But the coach got on the call, and it was like, I'm still reading you as like a finance guy. And that's, we're looking for something a little bit different. So it was again tweaking, but it can be hard when you're working on it on your own to see those kind of red flags. So please get some help with this, whether it's working with us, whether it's working with a friend or family member or whatever it is, that objective, like seeing, okay, it reads like this is sometimes hard for us to see as people because we're so kind of in our own funnel, if you will. We always offer a consult if you'd like to learn more about our services. Happy to talk with you. and we always offer a discount for Emory alums. So if you do set this up or you go to our website to look at something to purchase or sign up for, that coupon code or is your discount code as well. And I put it in the chat box too. So I'm going to go to this next slide to let you look at this while I'm okay. Recruiter, ageism, we talked about that. One challenge, Emory University, one resume and one cover letter for all positions. Yeah. So it's hard to have it be specific. So for certain industries or institutions, this may be the case depending on what's going on for them. And what you want to do is, for lack of a better way to say it, is kind of genericize it just a little bit to be like it's project or program management or it's leadership or whatever. So you want to genericize that resume a little bit more so that it can go across a few different types of jobs. But at the same time, remember too, we also want our job search to be focused as well. So when you're actually talking to the people, let's say you get an interview and you're preparing for that interview, send over the version that's going to be more specific. Okay. So I know this is something you kind of have to work around just a little bit. We like the functional, I'm sorry, we like the hybrid, which is the combination of the functional and the chronological. And just as, quick example of how you can functionalize your experience sections, you create like a header that is transferable into the new job that you're going for. And you explain, okay, what you're good at and results oriented, but you can create these subheads just like you did in the summary that we showed before. You can do that same thing in your experience section. Okay. A couple of things with your resume that you want to make sure that you're doing. Always start with those nice active verbs. You can get some help with AI from this. Remember, people, employers, recruiters, and there's a lot of backlash with AI as well. Like, we love it to generate ideas or thoughts or suggestions, but do not copy and paste what it says because they can tell, they'll throw it out. So be really mindful of your use of AI. Use it as a brainstorming tool or maybe to do some of the research that you need to. But remember, it's not always going to be right. Like I looked something up the other day and it had pulled an article from like, you know, 2000, like 2020 or something that is not, so you have to double check everything from it too. So can use it to get some ideas here. Make sure, and this goes back to the length of the resume conversation a moment ago too. You only want to put the accomplishments that are going to be really relevant and that they're going to care about for the job that you're going for. Okay. So remember the dog on a scent thing, and we already talked about those measurable results. Let's go to our next slide. This is the last one for today before we go to Q&A, and then I know we'll have some announcements as well. You can leverage AI also to help you with keywords that need to be put into your resume and LinkedIn. Another way to help you with transferring over to something else is to get specific LinkedIn or LinkedIn recommendations that speak to those transferable skills because you can use those in different places in your materials, and it also helps support, okay, this person can, move into this different direction. You can also reference your transferable skills in a cover letter if they give you the opportunity to provide a cover letter. They don't always do that, but you get the gist. Okay, so remember at the beginning, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm a coach, that's what I do. Is we talked about writing down an action step. Let's go ahead and write one of those down that you will take away from today. Please go ahead and share your action step in the chat box. There's a couple of suggestions here, but pick whatever makes the most sense for you. And a couple of questions. Advice if you're required to include additional information because of your field, like a portfolio, GitHub, something like that. Personal branding website or resume summary and transferable skills suffice. If you're supposed to have, let's say, like a graphic design portfolio or a writing portfolio, it doesn't suffice on the resume. I would create something separate that is that portfolio that you can provide to people that you can link to from your LinkedIn, etc. You do need to have those in some cases for certain types of jobs. So don't just rely on the other. Yep, LinkedIn Premium. And LinkedIn doesn't pay me to say this. Turn it on. Use it until you get the job. Turn it off at that point. Your first month is free. I'm told if you hold out on them, they'll send you a coupon code. So don't sign up right away after the free month. Use the coupon code. It's a big deal because you get unlimited messaging. You can reach out to more people. The networking is still the way to get jobs. Remember, we went to, or we talked about going back to the sales analogy. The more people you talk to, the better off you're going to be in terms of your search. And LinkedIn Premium supports or enables you to do more of that versus those limitations. So I really do. And there's also tools on there on LinkedIn that are incredibly helpful. Restructure resume. We've got some great so another questions, yes, you will get the recording. Some of the tools on LinkedIn. One of the tools that we want you to use is identifying people that are hiring, that are actively saying, I'm hiring. So it's that hashtag I'm hiring tool. That's one of the biggest ones that people don't take advantage of. There's a ton of other ones. And like what we normally do with clients is we'll say, here's your like 5 step, give or take, depending on the person, checklist of things that you're going to want to do every single day. You reach out to this many people, you go through this, etc. Um, so yeah, absolutely. So it looks like we've got questions answered. Also run my master resume through AI, which is great to focus on program management, update resume to hybrid structure. That's awesome too. And the formatting as well. I think these are all really great. So any announcements that we want to make while we are, ooh, another question came through. So, main considered type of work, types of job be sustainable? Yes. You know what? This is a really good question. And thank you for this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier about AI and just other technology as well, influencing and changing the workforce. So I do think, just like anything else, there are going to be jobs that are eliminated. It's the more rote, routine, kind of basic jobs. The rest of the jobs that exist out there are going to be impacted or influenced. So you as a professional need to know, okay, how do I leverage it effectively for my job? And also not spend like 10 hours a day on it. There was an article I read from HBR just this week, and this one person was saying, well, there were two things. One person was saying, sometimes I don't get the answer that I need. And then I've spent like, I've dug too far into AI or ChatGPT. And then I feel like I'm not thinking anymore and I need to. And then other people who are starting to they notice when their boss is writing all their emails with AI, and so people are starting to like just write it with their own voice and put typos in there sometimes too. So, um, so what I'm trying to say is I would do some research on the specific fields that you're looking at to say which ones are going to be more sustainable versus not, and which ones it's just going to more change or adjust. And at the end of the day, I don't want people to just choose a job or a career path because it's going to be stable and not be impacted, let's say, by AI, because we all know from the past few years, like nothing is, right? So don't have that be your own criteria. Have it be part of the criteria that you're considering, but also look at things that are going to be rewarding to you and that are going to be a good use of your skills too. I would be saying with the last question, the summary, and that's what I mean in a short time that we've got for today. It's going to be um, the summary and the branding is going to help you stand out. And for you to be thinking, I think the way to think about it too is like, okay, how can I stand out as a candidate? The majority of people, let's just say, that are applying for the same types of jobs that I want, are going to have ABC, but I've got this other thing that's unique and different. So thinking about it that way to help you stand out on your resume and on your LinkedIn would be the best advice I have for this. Like, and adding in a couple of like unique experiences that can demonstrate, for example, I've got, or I look at things in a different way, or I'm able to strategize, etc. And the job market is tough. In a sense, it's what we have been seeing is the same thing that LinkedIn said earlier this year when they kind of did their assessment is the jobs are actually out there. We've had a ton of people get jobs in the past like 4 or 5 months. They just had to work harder to find them and secure them. So it's you can't just be applying online all day. That doesn't cut it anymore. And so just to be positive, know that they are there. You've just got to turn up the gas a little bit. Hopefully that helps and ends on a little bit of a positive note too. It is. It's cool. Like we've gotten all these emails from clients, got my new job, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was a pain, and they had to do more networking and reach out to more people, and t it took a little bit more time to tailor their resume, etc. But and I hope we get back to the days when it gets a little bit easier. But they're there. It's just kind of like they're hiding a little bit more. All right. So yeah, you want to make any announcements before we start?
Wow. Such powerful, great information. I know multiple people will be going back and watching the recording to go through all this great material twice. But thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Hallie, for all the great information you shared. As soon as we close out, you guys will get a pop-up that has a survey link. It's a very short survey. Please take the time um, to go through that. It shouldn't take you long at all. I go through personally, read all those answers, and we do implement changes and updates based on your feedback. So please do that for us. And our next session will be in, let's see, our next session is actually continuing this conversation with our alumni career coach, April, um, and it's resume building and interview skills. And you definitely want to make sure you hop into that. She does a really good job. She'll pick a few people from the audience to do a mock interview, and kind of
Ooh,
practice
that's a lot
them
of pressure.
to practice a couple of interview questions that you feel like you guys struggle with. So be sure to check out the website and stay tuned for updates and registration on that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That sounds so
Oh,
cool.
you're
I would.
fine. Oh yeah. We got we've done it before. We got really good feedback and people loved it because, they get to kind of practice their answers before the actual interviews. So this information is great to get you the interview, and then April's session will help you ace the interview.
Perfect. I love it.
Thank you
That's
guys so
great.
much for being here. Have a great day.
You guys too.
Right. They keep hiding my record button.